Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Brendan Ecker Influence. It's April 2nd, 2026. And let's see what's going to happen. Are we going to have the Clarity Act this week? According to the CLO of Coinbase, that just could be a possibility. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Let's look into it. Let's see what's happening. Coinbase CLO expects Clarity Act stablecoin rewards deal this week. So that's pretty big news. And the reason that this is big news is because, as we can see with all of the markets today, and when we see everything that's going on, you can see and obviously tell that the markets are stagnant still. We've been talking about this, and basically until those prices, or until the Clarity Act is passed, until there's real form of legislation, then you're going to see the prices basically stay exactly where they're at, right? So Bitcoin's at $66,726.35. Ethereum's at $2,059. XRP went down a little bit, $1.29. And then Solana's at $79. Dogecoin is at 9 cents. And Cardano's still at 24 cents. They've been just pretty much in the same place. They've been like a rock, haven't really moved at all. And then Chainlink's at $8.59. Monero is at $327.25, down 2.71% in the last 24 hours. And then you have Stellar Lumens, which is at 16 cents, and World Liberty Financial at 99 cents. These are the top 20 coins that I like to go over. And of course, we have all of our other contenders. HBAR is going to be a big contender, I think, and that's only at 8 cents. So if you want to get a bargain, that's probably going to be the best way to do it, obviously. So at the end of the day, you're going to have to really know, what is going to make you the most money in crypto, what's going to make you the most money as an entrepreneur, what is actually going to help your life, what is actually going to help you get ahead and get where you want to go. And I think crypto is just obviously the future. There's no way around it. There's just, at the end of the day, the financial reset is happening. It is underway. And regardless of what we want to do about it, there's not much that we can do until we truly, until we find out that there's some kind of clarity. And so the fear and greed index is at 28 right now. Pretty much, again, last week it was at like 34. And so when we look at these other stories, we can see how this kind of affects all of the other markets. The SEC and CFTC issue the interpretive guidance clarifying when digital assets fall outside of the purview of securities laws. And again, that's a big article. We're going to look over that. We also have, here's why Solana price could slide below $75. We will be covering this article a little bit, and then we'll be covering the oil markets and the energy markets, which is big news because with Trump's statements yesterday, Trump stated that, yes, we are going to be going to war with Iran. We're not going to be going any easier on them. But then he said we're going to pull out and be done in 3 weeks, right? So obviously when we have military logistics, we already have a new ship, the George W. Bush, the USS George W. Bush is already being sent to the Strait of Hormuz. We have special operations on Karg Island. Courage just got, a bridge just got blown up today. We'll be covering that story a little bit. But everything, and it's affecting everything. And so especially when Trump's statement last night at the White House, when he said that basically we're basically still going to be involved in this war, it really messed with pretty much all of the oil prices. And so when we look at all of it, not looking so good. And so then we also have gold, which has definitely taken a hit as well. Overall, gold is getting a lot of flack. Look at this, $4,695.10. Sheesh. We were at like 5,300. That's wild. $4,695.10 is where gold is at right now for an ounce. And then $73.23 is for silver. Platinum's at $1,992.40. And palladium's at $1,535. So, the rare and precious metals, I don't know how good that's really going to be going. Okay, but let's go back to this article and let's actually read this because I think there was a lot that is going to come from this. New joint guidance draws clearer jurisdictional lines for crypto markets while preserving the Howey framework and signaling forthcoming safe harbors. We're not the Securities and Everything Commission anymore, SEC Chairman Paul Atkins said. So the key takeaways from this article are that the SEC and the CFTC issued joint interpretive guidance establishing a 5-category crypto token framework. Digital commodities, digital collectibles, digital tools, and stablecoins are not securities by default. So what does that mean? Digital commodities, that's Bitcoin. That's what I hear when I hear that. Digital collectibles, that's NFTs. Digital tools, I would say anything you use for a CRM or anything like that, anything you integrate into an app maybe. And then stablecoins are essentially XRP, the RLUSD, the USDC, Tether. That's kind of where your stable coins are, right? World Liberty Financial, all you're seeing with those kind of tokens. So those are the differences between those. Digital securities, again, which are the traditional securities tokenized on a blockchain, remain fully subject to federal securities laws. Non-security tokens may still be sold as investment contracts depending on how they are marketed. So remember, this is what they wanted to call XRP for many years. They wanted to say XRP is a security, and that's where this Howey test came from. They said, an orange is not a commodity. You know what I mean? Or an orange is not a security. It's a commodity. It's something you can sell, and you can use it as an asset, and you can use it as a form of currency. Absolutely. And anything can be really used as a form of currency. That's what kind of covers this entire Clarity Act. But the big issue is the CEO of Coinbase for the longest time really just was holding this entire Clarity Act back because they wanted to enjoy that 35% on that stablecoin yield. So going on with this article, a coordinated federal approach to crypto regulation. On March 17th, 2026, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission released a 68-page interpretive statement jointly with the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, clarifying on how federal securities laws apply to cryptocurrency assets and transactions. While the interpretation does not constitute formal rulemaking and safe harbor rules remain forthcoming, it reflects a notable shift towards regulatory coordination and away from enforcement-driven policymaking. SEC Chairman Paul Atkins emphasized that the interpretation is intended to provide clearer, more predictable rules while remaining grounded in existing law. The guidance does not replace or supersede Supreme Court precedents, including the 1946 Howey decision, which established the Howey test for securities, but instead explains how those principles apply to crypto assets given their technological and economic features. So, what does that actually mean? The SEC's 5-category token taxonomy. The interpretation identifies 5 general categories of crypto assets, acknowledging that some tokens may fall into more than one category or outside of that framework altogether. The guidance makes clear that digital securities are the only category clearly within the SEC's regulatory perimeter. These assets are traditional securities such as equity or debt instruments, which are formatted as or represented by crypto assets with ownership recorded on a blockchain. The guidance indicates that digital commodities, digital collectibles, and digital tools are generally not securities because they lack intrinsic economic rights. Digital commodities derive value from the programmatic operation of a decentralized or functional crypto system and are often integral to network operations such as paying transactional fees. Digital collectibles, including NFTs, are designed to be collected or used and may convey limited intellectual property rights. The SEC clarified that creator royalties alone do not convert collectibles into securities, though fractionalization tied to profit-seeking efforts could implicate securities laws. Digital tools serve practical functions such as providing access, credentials, or membership, while value tied to utility rather than investment potential. Finally, stablecoins are carved out from securities laws under the federal stablecoin framework established by the Genius Act, provided they maintain a stable value and are fully backed. When tokens become investment contracts or securities, the guidance emphasizes that even a token that is not itself a security may be sold as part of an investment contract. This determination turns largely on how the token is offered and promoted. Under the guidance, a token that is not itself a security may be subject to security laws if it is sold for a manner that creates a reasonable expectation of profits based on the issuer's ongoing managerial efforts consistent with the Howey test analysis. Relevant considerations include whether representations were made by the issuer rather than third parties, whether they were made at or before the time of the sale, and whether the issuer communicated a concrete or actionable business plan. Vague promotional statements or post-sale communications generally do not create an investment contract. The guidance also clarifies that common crypto activities such as mining, staking, wrapping, and airdrops typically do not constitute securities transactions when the underlying token is a non-security. Investments contracts can end. So a central feature of the interpretation of its recognition that the investment contracts are not perpetual. A token sold as part of an investment contract may cease to be a security once the issuer has fulfilled or can no longer reasonably be expected to fulfill the promises that created the investment contract. At that point, downstream token transactions may fall outside the scope of federal security laws depending on the surrounding facts and disclosures. This principle is particularly significant for major networks where development is complete, control has dispersed, and purchasers no longer rely on a core team's managerial efforts. coming safe harbors and legislative context tells us that Chairman Atkins also previewed forthcoming proposed rules that would establish safe harbors for crypto projects seeking to raise capital in the United States. These include time-limited startup exemption, a higher threshold fundraising exemption with enhanced disclosures, and a rule-based safe harbor clarifying when a crypto asset is no longer a security. Yes, we absolutely need all of this. While the interpretation provides meaningful near-term clarity, Atkins emphasized that a comprehensive and durable regulation ultimately depends on congressional action, including passage on the pending Clarity Act. In the interim, guidance offers companies a clearer framework for asserting regulatory risk and structuring compliant digital asset activities. Comments may be submitted to the SEC using the following methods: for electronic comments, and then for email comments, and for paper comments. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. The SEC and the SFTC, they're really now basically working hand in hand. They're trying to essentially build an entirely new system, and that's what this is all about. And then again, of course, our featured story, the Coinbase CLO expects Clarity Act stablecoin rewards deal this week. Okay, so Coinbase CLO, Paul Grewal said a Clarity Act deal is on a stablecoin's reward could come this week as Senate talks continue and markup remains in the view of this month. Coinbase Chief Legal Officer Paul Grewal said a deal on the Clarity Act stablecoin rewards language could be reached within 48 hours, putting the issue back at the center of the Senate's crypto talks. His remarks come as lawmakers and industry groups continue working through last major dispute in the market structure bill. The current debate focuses on whether crypto firms can keep offering rewards tied to stablecoin use without crossing interest-like products. At the same time, the broader Senate process remains active, with committee action still expected later in April. Coinbase CLO Paul Grewal points to a near-term deal. Coinbase CLO Grewal said the stablecoin rewards question could be settled by February this week, suggesting that negotiators may be able to close on the bill one of these this coming week. He's also linked to the matter of the goal of completing the Senate's market structure work following the Genius Act, which established a separate federal framework for payment stablecoins. So again, these are some big stories. The Clarity Act would go further by establishing rules for digital asset oversight and drawing a line between the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. His comments, His comments arrive after weeks of friction between crypto companies and banking groups over how far Congress can go in limiting rewards tied to stablecoin balances. The bill is designed to bring clearer federal rules to digital asset markets, but the rewards language has slowed progress because it touches both consumer offerings and banks' concerns about deposit competition. Stablecoins rewards remain the main dispute. The current policy fight centers on whether firms should be allowed to offer rewards that resemble yield on stablecoin holdings. The Genius Act already bars primary issuers from paying traditional interest, while the newer market structure debate now turns on whether exchanges and other platforms can provide similar incentives through reward programs. Banks have pushed for tighter limits, arguing that unrestricted rewards could pull deposits away from traditional accounts. An earlier draft sought to block yield offering directly or indirectly on passive stablecoin balances while still allowing narrower activity-based rewards. The language drew objections from parts of the crypto sector, including Coinbase. In recent reports, Tether boss Paulo Ardoino appeared to back criticism of Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong over his stance on stablecoin yields in the Clarity Act debate. The reaction followed a social media post arguing Armstrong to step back and stop blocking progress on the bill's stablecoin provisions. Senate timeline and market odds stay in view. The Senate Banking Committee is still looking at the second half of April for a possible markup after lawmakers return from recess. The final legislative text was expected during the week, but a report on April 1st said the latest draft would no longer be released publicly this week. Prediction markets are also tracking the bill's path. The polymarket contract on whether the Clarity Act will become law in 2026 showed a 52% probability on April 1st, with more than $471,000 in trading volume. A lot of people lost their money there, right? Clarity Act to become law in 2026. Previously, Evernorth said that the Clarity Act could give XRP the legal clarity it has lacked for years in the United States, which it has, absolutely. The SEC has completely handcuffed the company Ripple. If XRP is recognized as a commodity under the law, institutions may find it easier to adopt the token with greater confidence. And so that's kind of why everybody's saying that these prices are going to go up for the entire crypto market, because really this entire Clarity Act benefits everybody in crypto. The more research you do on the subject, you'll figure out rather quickly that it's going to be XRP, it will be Bitcoin, it will be Ethereum, it will be XLM, it will be HBAR, it will be Algorand, it will be, what am I missing? Solana, of course, Quant, maybe Avalanche because Trump liked that coin. A lot of DeFi coins. I think Ada Cardano, especially because they're definitely a trailblazer. Charles Hoskinson. Everybody's going to win from this. It's a question of who is going to have the most power, who's going to have the most control over regulatory oversight and everything in the crypto market. This is for all the marbles, and so we're seeing who's going to be able to take the cake. This is what, again, if you read the Epstein files, you saw that what was in the Epstein files, you saw Jeffrey Epstein was talking about Chris Larsen and Brad Garlinghouse, and specifically on how they were a threat to the project of Bitcoin, which Epstein was working on. So if you understand this, this is quite interesting, right? We basically have this race to the control over crypto, and that's what these CEOs are really fighting for. Brad Garlinghouse, Charles Hoskinson, Michael Saylor, again, of MicroStrategy. Again, we have all these people fighting for the power. Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, they're all fighting for the control over the entire market itself. And so that's kind of ultimately what we're seeing right now. So what do you guys think? Here's why Solana price could slide below 75 bucks. So this is an interesting article to me. What do you guys think about Solana? Do you guys think that this is FUD? Do you guys think that this is real? But again, a lot of people are believing that there's a potential, drop with Solana. Solana has broken below $80 and is printing lower highs as the short-term trend remains bearish. Long liquidations dominate the market as the price decline is pretty evident. Okay. And again, we looked at the oil markets, we looked at the gold markets. Now, let's go over to Twitter X and we'll look at some of these bigger stories telling us exactly what's going on in the market. So we looked up crypto and we'll go into oil. We'll look at all of that. But gold crashes under $4,600, over $1 trillion wiped out of its market cap today. That's pretty crazy. Trump crashed the markets again while everyone was expecting a peace deal or escalation. Trump said the U.S. will hit Iran extremely hard in the next 2 to 3 weeks, bringing them back to the Stone Age, end quote. Could you believe he said that? This is why I said before, no analysis is going to work when Trump can destroy the chart and set up with a single speech. So that's kind of what we're seeing. The Clarity Act breakthrough. Again, everybody's excited about it. That's kind of where we are. Hey, there's me. And you look at all of these different posts here. Breaking, Coinbase just announced live on Fox 5 hours ago, Bitcoin and crypto market structure deal in the next 48 hours. So again, is this really going to happen in the next 48 hours? Well, no, right? They got to put it on the Senate floor. It has to go through the Senate floor. So it is probably going to, officially be mid-April. What you're going to see is you're going to see the entire crypto market spaz out because the prices aren't going up right away. But it's like, you need to leave room for institutional adoption and all of these things. So let's take a look at this video and hear what he has to say about the markets.
This important part of crypto. However, it's important that we provide.
Start this over here.
Scott, who of course introduced the Clarity Act, I think believed, and many did, that we were going to have a resolution of this in the fall of 2025. It has gone on much longer, this argument, than many believed. But talk about that 48-hour time frame. Do you really believe that we're going to have resolution in 48 hours after all of this?
I'm very confident we're going to see progress. And the reason for that is we need to finish the job. It's true, the Genius Act passed last year was a watershed moment for crypto and for the crypto economy. For the first time, we had sensible rules in place that govern this important part of crypto. However, it's important that we provide a full market structure into which the crypto legislation from last year can fit. And that's what Clarity fundamentally provides. I do think that it's important that we finish the job, in particular on deciding which tokens, which crypto projects really should fall to the jurisdiction of the SEC on the one hand, and which really are better served by oversight over at the CFTC. I think Chairman Scott deserves a lot of credit. He has certainly been persistent.
The SEC should just be out of business.
As
Screw the
through
SEC.
A lot of these issues. I think that with all the progress that we made over the last several months, it's exciting to see that we're moving towards a markup hearing in the Senate Banking Committee, hopefully as soon as in the next few weeks, and ultimately a floor vote and passage of the bill with a signature by the president to follow.
Okay.
Well, that would be really good. Again, within the next 48 hours. So that'll be April 4th, April 5th, somewhere around that time, and we'll see what happens. That'll be a big episode. That'll be some big news. Ultimately, I don't know, guys. What do you guys think about the entire thing? I think it's all going to depend on what happens with the Iran war. Is there going to be some major strike on Iran? Is this going to tank the markets? Are we going to see some massive attack on U.S. troops? There's already attacks on U.S. bases happening right now. And if you want to learn more about those attacks and what's happening with the military, what's going on with troops, geopolitics, and some of my geopolitical analysis, follow my channel on Ecker Geopolitics, and you'll be able to see that. But that's kind of what's happening now. So it looks like to me, Ripple is really taking the lead. BlackRock just started liquidating all of their crypto ahead of the U.S. market open. They are nonstop dumping millions of Bitcoin every minute. They 100% know something bad is coming. Really, that's interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Breaking: Trump insider with a 100% win rate just longed the market for a $135 million ahead of Trump's order signaling today. He made over $60 million in 3 trades and perfectly called every Bitcoin dip. Today he went all in again, just like the last time. So whoever this is that's making the moves, they're making some money. President Trump said crypto could be the greatest revolution in finance to the internet. This was just March 31st. This was a pretty big statement. And of course, I can't get the volume to work. Okay, we'll just move on. But yeah, so what do you guys think about everything that's happening? I think it's going to be pretty wild. It's going to be pretty insane. We have a lot of things happening when it comes to the crypto industry and the crypto market, but I'm excited for it as an entrepreneur myself, as a real estate agent myself. I want to see people make more money. I want to see people benefit from crypto. I want to see people benefit from this, from everything that we've kind of been waiting for, right? Especially the crypto market, those soldiers out there who have been, waiting for the SEC and fighting the SEC and the XRP army, all of it, right? So that's kind of the major fight, if you ask me. So that's all I have to say. We'll see what happens with the entire crypto industry. We'll see what happens next. What do you guys think is coming? I think we are looking at a big market ahead. Although I do see there's going to be market fluctuations, there's going to be changes, there's going to be bad things that happen. All of that stuff's going to happen with the war. You're going to see a lot of strikes happen on, U.S. troops in Iran, and it's going to be horrible. We shouldn't be there. I absolutely agree that we shouldn't be there. But at the same time, I see a lot of positive developments coming for crypto in general. I think it's going to make a lot of people wealthy. I think it's going to change a lot of people's lives. So invest in crypto, buy low, and sell high. And that's my advice to anybody. And be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you like the show. And if you want to grow your business, be sure to work with goldsharkmedia.com, the link right here, and you'll be able to work with me. And you won't even have to work with me. You'll be able to automate your business inside of one system, goldsharkmedia.com, and essentially, goldsharkmedia.com. Go to it. Leads, SEO, promo, and deal flow. And at the end of the day, you got to make money in a business. You have to have a way of adapting to the future. You want an ROI calculator? We have it in our software. If you want pipelines built in, everything's automated in goldsharkmedia.com. So work with us. Visit the website, sign up for the software, and then get going, growing your business. So that's all I have to say. Stay prudent, stay powerful, and stay wealthy. And again, invest in crypto, because you're not going to have forever to do it. It's going to be a massive transfer of wealth. We don't know when it's coming, but could end up being in the next 48 hours, apparently. Is that going to happen? Is it possible? Or am I just